Fable 5 is back, and by the time you're watching this, it'll probably be available in Claude code, but not forever. It looks like it'll be available until the 7th of July, and then after that, it'll be with your extra usage credits or available via the API. But this is a huge announcement. Howard Lucknick wrote a letter announcing that the export ban has been removed and Anthropic is free to fully release it to the general public, which is just all really crazy. I mean, it was kind of a whirlwind for me. I used it for about 3 days, or for the full 3 days, really. Missed basically half of one of those days because I didn't know we weren't going to have it. We were supposed to have it until June 22nd. So I think that was about 2 weeks that we would have subscription usage of this amazing new model. And then it got stripped away by a combination of factors, from fear-mongering marketing to the federal government and the Trump administration and all the craziness in between. And I have to admit that it took a toll on me a little bit, and I felt like, man, what's the point of building after I experienced this groundbreaking model that was capable of all these things? So I figured I needed to make another video. Also, many more videos will be coming in the future. I just had a newborn baby, number 1, and so it's been quite the transition. So I actually released my second ever video on here the day before he was born. So anyway, but I figured we could cover this news and we could talk a little bit about kind of the current situation we're in right now. So here we go. Claude Fable 5 will be available again globally tomorrow. After a series of productive conversations with the U.S. government, we're redeploying the model with a new set of classifiers to target and block more cybersecurity tasks. I wonder if that means that it won't be able to fix bugs in a code base. I hope not. In the near term, some routine tasks like coding and debugging will fall back to Opus 4.8. Ooh, I don't know if I like that. We'll continue to refine these classifiers over the coming weeks to reduce false positives and better distinguish genuine misuse from legitimate requests. We've also begun drafting a consensus framework with Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and other Glasswing partners. There's those M dashes. Did they have Claude write this? Probably. For assessing the severity of AI jailbreaks and how AI developers should respond to them. We invite other industry partners and model providers to join us in this effort. Finally, we're scaling up our collaboration with the U.S. government on model testing and safeguards. This will include pre-release access to models and safeguards for evaluation, information sharing on jailbreaks and misuse, and dedicated resources for joint research. Thank you to our users for your patience, and to our partners across the government, industry, and research community who worked alongside us to make Fable 5 available again. Read our full blog here. So we'll pull up this blog because there's some interesting things in it that I've already seen. One of those being that this through July 7th, and I think that's interesting. But first, I want to just kind of talk about what this whole situation means in terms of general access to AI in general. It seems like we have stepped down the slippery slope of a bad direction, and maybe they kind of saw, hey, this hurts the U.S. AI industry, and they finally, convinced the administration of that, and that is why, and that China was starting to make some ground, and maybe that's why this is happening now, because it doesn't seem like too much has changed. It seemed like a combination between Dario's fear mongering and ego and flexing from the administration, from Howard Lutnick to Pete Hegseth, all of that, just, doing their thing. And so it's weird timing. I think it was gone for a little over 2 weeks. And yeah, so what I wanted to talk about in this was a little bit of what we can expect in the future, and then just to talk about this kind of phenomenon I saw, which is also similar to when GPT 4.0 got deprecated and people freaked out. In a lot of ways, it was different though, because with GPT 4.0, people had these like emotional bonds to this model in a weird kind of para-human relationship kind of deal, which is different from getting access to incredible capabilities within a coding model and then that getting stripped away from you and you getting, the iPhone 3G on a 3G network versus your iPhone 17 Pro Max with a full 5G network and the capabilities and all of the software that's built within that. So it's a different kind of thing. But what you saw all across Twitter was people just having a really difficult time. And I have to admit, I had a hard time as well. Having that model for 3 days and expecting and having this plan. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. These are all the projects I'm going to refactor, and then it just getting stripped away. So wanted to talk a little bit about that, the psychology of that, and kind of what we can expect in the future. So let's just look at the first part of this article from Anthropic real fast, just to kind of give a gauge for you guys of how long we have this and kind of put the pressure on that you guys should be ready to use this as much as possible for the next week, and to make best use of this and best use of your subscription before it becomes not as accessible. On Friday, June 12th, the U.S. government applied export controls on our newest model, Claude Fable 5 and Claude Mythos 5. You guys asked for it, unfortunately. This required us to restrict access to foreign nationals, whether inside or outside the United States. Because the order took effect immediately, we had no reliable way to verify nationality in real time. We suspended access to both models for all users. As of today, June 30th, the export controls on Fable 5 and Mythos 5 have been lifted. Fable will be available starting tomorrow, Wednesday, July 1st, to users globally on the Claude platform, Claude AI, Claude Code, and Claude Cowork, for Pro, Max, Team, and selected enterprise plans. Fable 5 will be included for up to 50% of weekly usage limits through July 7th, after which will be available via usage credits. We will re-enable access on AWS, Google Cloud, Microsoft Foundry as quickly as possible. So this brings up quite a few talking points. The first one being, this exposed, kind of, I feel like a huge shift, not just in the AI industry, but in geopolitics, within where our world's headed to, kind of a less optimistic future, if I have to be honest, that there can just be only certain people that have the access of these incredibly powerful models, and that the general public just does not get access to it in the same way. I think we kind of know how that goes when just the in crowd, the big companies get access to stuff. That's not great. The other thing that is a talking point, which I mentioned earlier, is the emotional impact some of these things can have when they're taken away. And then third, the reliance on one model to be able to get your work done, or one company allowing you to use their compute, their models, And then the conversation on open source. Now, all of this is very relevant, and I think it's something we need to really think through. Now, what I'm doing personally is I'm a follower of Christ, and I run a ministry. And one of my focuses is to start to encourage the Christian church specifically to start investing in computing infrastructure. Now, this is a complicated conversation in the sense of the kind of current impracticality to be able to even run models if you had access to an open source version of this capacity on consumer hardware. You're going to need to invest thousands and thousands, if not millions or hundreds of thousands of dollars just to be able to run this for a small number of people. Anthropic is paying SpaceX $1.5 billion or something a month to rent the computing infrastructure. So we're kind of in this place where we really either need some new hardware innovation. We need to rally around open source. And we really need some breakthrough as well within creating models that can compete at a high level and still run on moderate hardware. The theory that kind of has proved itself through Fable is that when you expand compute, you do expand capability, intelligence, all of that comes with it. So I think, as far as the Wild West open source area, we're just going to have to get crafty, compete with a knight versus a queen, right? On the chessboard. There's, we might not be able to just rely on pure compute like some of these huge companies are doing. And I think diversifying and investing in hardware. Now, the other difficult part with deciding to invest in hardware, at least personally, is the way we've seen hardware and technology progress over time, where a graphics card from 10 years ago can't compete with the graphics cards today, even though you can't access them now. As theoretically, as industry expands, unless there's some type of monopoly keeping it down. In a perfect market economy, which we don't have, unfortunately, with inflation and money printing and all that, we would, in a perfect situation, get cheaper and cheaper hardware over time. But we have such a shortage of hardware because of the demand within AI compute data centers. So yeah, for me, it hit me pretty hard whenever I had access to it for 3 days, got stripped away. So that was kind of a wake-up call for me, where just knowing system architecture and how to build things really does matter. You can't just rely on the next best, greatest model. I'm glad we're getting it back. It seems like less time than we had before, which is unfortunate. I wish they would have proportionally given us the amount of time that we were originally going to have. While I am glad we're getting it back, it does reveal some weakness, some potential, pitfalls. So yeah, I don't have much more to say, but I just wanted to cover this. And my biggest piece of advice would start getting a list together even before it's released, and putting together a game plan of all of the stuff you want to get done with this model up until July 7th so that you can make best use of the time. So I have several different websites, several different applications and projects that I'm planning on pointing Fable at, and I hope it's not too nerfed. But I would recommend getting prepared for that and also starting to research about hardware, at the very least, just understanding what's happening in the industry. But yeah, let me know down in the comments below what your plan is for Fable up until July 7th, assuming it works. And for my fellow Christians out there who are developers, leave a comment, send me an email at hello@divinecreative.org. Go to divinecreative.org, fill out an application. I'm putting together more and more teams of Christian developers, and I'm wanting to put together a whole developers conference somewhere in the future. So that's what I'm all about. So yeah, let me know what you're going to do with Fable down below. Let me know future videos you want to see. I want to cover all types of stuff, and I'm all about building software and advancing the kingdom of God through technology. And we have a software development team at Divine Creative. So if you want to join, let me know. All right. Peace.